Gamers, the last DLC character of Season 1, Street Fighter 6, is fast approaching, which means we are likely to get a bigger patch after the last character, which is Akuma. Everyone's excited and hoping to see something cool happen with that character, seeing as we've had so many cool DLC characters so far for Street Fighter 6. We're expecting a big patch along with that character right after for a Season 2 of Street Fighter 6. And I'm, as the small content creator I am throwing my hat in the ring of things I would love to see for a Season 2 patch. Now, I will not be adjusting character balance. I will not be talking about characters. I will only be talking about system mechanics and the things I would like to see happen to them. Specifically, the drive meter. Now, I want to preface this. I generally like most of the system mechanics in Street Fighter 6. I just think they need adjustments. I don't think any of them need to be removed. I don't think any of them, except one, are significantly too overtuned. So, with that being said, let's get into it. Number one, I think I want to start with the one that people consider generally the weakest of all of the system mechanics in the game when it comes to drive meter, and that is drive reversal. Drive reversal is pretty good, costs 2 bars, not the worst thing in the world. Sometimes interacts very oddly because of the fact that you have to press forward and the DI macro, or you could press both of the heavies together. And that creates some issues, where because of Street Fighter 6's odd buffer system, sometimes you end up getting a DI instead of getting a drive reversal. I would like that adjusted. I would like that fixed. I would like a bigger buffer window for drive reversal. That's number one. And that's just like a weird quality of life change. That's not really a buff. The next thing I want is an actual buff to drive reversal. I want drive reversal to be significantly faster. And the reason why, I don't know the exact frames on it, apologies. And the reason why is because it's reactable to super if you're fast enough or playing modern controls. I think I might have showed it off on stream at some point. I don't remember how long ago, but I was just looking around at the system mechanics, seeing what was cool, what wasn't, what I thought was a little weak, and I thought drive reversal was generally the weakest of the system mechanics when it came to the drive meter. And one of the biggest deals of it was that it gets blown up really hard by level 3. You lose 2 bars of drive gauge, and then you also get hit by a level 3, and the level 3 breaks through it, so it is punish counter. So you take a little extra, and then you take the level 3 damage. Kind of fucked up. Make it a little faster so that it's not reactable, and it's a real guess that you're having to block and punish it. The next thing I want is I would actually like for it, instead of being -8, I would like for it to be -10. So that instead of being 0 when you're in burnout, this is a nerf. Instead of it being 0 when you're in burnout, it's -2 in burnout. Or -2 in burnout. It would then be -2 instead of being 0, and it'd be easier to punish when you're not in burnout. Because I've noticed that some characters have a real tricky time trying to punish it from certain ranges, and you only have 8 frames to do it. It's an 8 frame is -8, and then oh wait, you're not 0. You're -4. I guess -6 would still be fine. It'd end up being -6 because -4 when you're in burnout. Yeah. I still think that's a fine change. I don't know if it's necessary. Maybe the first 2 changes are enough, but there was one more thing I would like to see, and it'd be being harder to punish or easier to punish, since it'll be stronger on the back end of making it so that you can't react to it with level 3 anymore, right? Because that was something that I saw people doing when they were in burnout. They would like press a button into someone's drive reverse and be like, oh shit, I'm in burnout, and then just use level 3, right? Get a lot of their drive time back, lower their opponent's drive gauge, on top of them losing drive gauge for using the drive reversal. And it creates this really fucked up swing situation where now you're in advantage from making a reaction on someone's defensive option that should generally have actually just been a read instead of a reaction. And I think those are the only real changes I want done to drive reversal. The next thing I want to move over to is drive impact. I would like to see one change for drive impact. This is it. I think drive impact is like the best of the system mechanics. It doesn't really need to be changed much. I would only like to see drive impact sped up by 2 frames. Instead of 26 frames, I would like to see it generically be 24 across the board so that it is a little more applicable and useful in high level play. The higher level you get at Street Fighter 6, the more you watch, the more you see higher level players play, the less you see drive impact. Drive impact is probably the least seen system mechanic outside of burnout and in the corner, right? You see drive reversal mid-screen, you see drive parry all the time. I don't have to talk about Drive Rush, but Drive Impact is one of the tricky ones that because it's so easy to react to, 26 frames is a long time and there's so many good buttons in this game that are special cancelable, that it's pretty easy to almost always react to Drive Impact, and you don't see too many people getting hit by it unless they're in Burnout or in the corner being mental stacked, where they're worried about too many other things. So I would like to see it sped up by 2 frames, not a crazy big buff, but maybe one that'll allow it to see more play. Might be a lot stronger on the low end, but hey, them's be the breaks. We want all the system mechanics to be relatively balanced, I hope. The next thing is Drive Parry. I want to talk about Drive Rush last. Drive Parry. I want a full overhaul of Drive Parry. I want Drive Parry to not be able to perfect parry normals. And when you perfect parry a special move, you have significantly less scaling. That's what I want. You still get your punish counter, but I think it's like you automatically lose like 50% damage. It's like 50% damage scaling off rip. It's the immediate highest damage scaling. I would like for it to be half of that, and it only work on specials. On normals, you just get regular parry. That would be cool. Because we see so many instances where people are just using parry on their wake up to try to beat as many options as possible. You beat overhead, you beat low, you beat meaty mid, and you beat special move, and the only thing you lose to is throw. And that feels extremely powerful, and it feels like a pretty one-dimensional mechanic where its only real answer is throw, creating throw loops as an offensive tool that need to be in the game, unfortunately, with how powerful parry is currently. Sorry. With how powerful parry is currently, I think throws are the only check. And I really would not like for them to be. The next thing I would like to see is tap parry having real recovery. If you tap parry and your opponent does not hit you, you cannot choose to block overhead or low. Right? You've seen someone does tap parry, the opponent does like drive rush into an overhead or low, and they get punish countered. That's only because they guessed wrong. You can block during the recovery of parry. I would like to see that removed. If you do tap parry, or if you parry, I would like for there to be some amount of recovery that is actually punishable, and that is where I would like to see that 50% minimum damage scaling immediately, where you are automatically at full scaling, but you at least take a punish and feel a little more detracted and removed from trying to use parry constantly so that you have to think about other defensive options. And I think those are the only 2 things that I would do to parry. I don't think anything else is really wrong with it. I generally like it outside of its application against meaties and normals. It shouldn't be the way it works. If parry doesn't work on normals, why would I wake up tap parry? No, now you're tap parrying, and if someone uses like a short Blanca ball or a short sumo, they can punish you for it. That's what it would do. That's all it would be for at that point. Or you try to parry someone's Dragon Lash and they do a shorter Dragon Lash and you miss, and then they can punish you on the back end because they baited you. And generally when they baited you, they didn't get a punish outside of using throw. Now they can get a punish that does more corner carry, but doesn't really do damage. Let's leave it at that, right? So yes, you probably shouldn't be tap parrying as often, if that's the case. But if you do, if you're trying to beat a meaty special move, and they bait you on said meaty special move, you don't get a giant reward for it on the other end, on the offensive end. Instead, you just get positioning. But that's something to think about, right? That's a good idea. I think that's what makes the drive system so intricate, is there's so many things that if you change it, you're like, well, why do I even use this anymore? Or how do I use this now? Like, the drive system in Street Fighter is so well tuned for the most part right now already. It's hard to really discuss changes without completely throwing something else out of whack, which sucks. Drive rush. Drive rush, drive rush, drive rush, drive rush, drive rush. I think this is the most complained about system mechanic, right? It was like DI for the first week. It was drive parry like a week after. And then it was drive rush for a really long time, and then people came back around to drive parry. So drive rush is a big funny button. Is you zip across the screen if you're playing a character like DJ or Jury, and you just like go real fast, and you use a plus frame button on the back end of it and create offense. And it's one of the strongest ways to create offense in the game, but it does cost meter. It costs a bar of meter, it costs 3 bars of meter if you're doing it off of a normal, which is relatively fair. I don't want to see the values adjusted. I don't think the values need to be adjusted. I'm gonna throw that out there now. But what I would like to see, 2 two things. I would like to see the screen. Drive Rush needs to stop fucking eating inputs. Drive Rush needs to stop eating inputs. I don't know if that's an input reader problem or a driver screen freeze problem. It's one or the other, and it needs to fucking stop. That is the first thing. That is the biggest thing. It needs to be easier to react and check drive rushes when you have the read and reaction to do so. It feels unfair that you know that you saw the drive rush, tried to use your crouching medium punch, tried to use your stand heavy punch to check it, and the screen froze and it ate your input. It's the worst feeling in the game. It might be worse than perfect parry in the back of the into the corner, if I'm honest. The second thing, I would love to see drive rush be punish counter recovery, so that when you get your punish, it's not something small. You get a real punish, even if it's, once again, that same scaling as... No, I think I would like for it to just be regular punish counter scaling. I would like for drive rush to feel bad when you're wrong for using it, so that the game still has an offensive focus. You can still get your plus frames off of it, but if your opponent is ready for it and has it scouted with all of the other options that you could have done instead, they get a real reward, and you're on the back foot. You lose a little more drive meter, you got punished, you're probably knocked down, and now you have to think about other options instead of just, my character is Fury, so I'm just going to do Fireball Drive Rush. I think the main reason why I mentioned this change is because if you are fighting against a character with a really strong Drive Rush, it feels futile to check them for the Drive Rush. You check the Drive Rush one time, and then they just do it again. And what it creates is a situation where it's like, yuck, I'll do it again, like the Honda Headbutt, the Blanca Ball, where you're not getting a big enough punish, or you're getting no punish at all, for them using the move, so there's no real reason to stop using it. Now, if you make punish counter recovery for Drive Rush, it forces people to use it significantly less, because if they use it too often, they'll get burned out and won't have access to it, and they're taking damage, and you're gaining meter all along the way. All of these things will create a less volatile situation around Drive Rush for the defender. Maybe it's a little too weak now for the offensive player, but we'll see. The game feels very offensive as it is so far, right? This is an extremely offensive Street Fighter game without need of super offensive plus frame buttons that don't come from, Drive Rush. Not every character is walking around with 3 to 4 plus frame buttons. Crouching medium kicks have a smaller window to cancel, so now you can't just hit confirm them always. You have to commit, and I think it makes for a significantly healthier game. And hopefully, these changes would make for a healthier game too. If anyone's listening to Capcom, I could be wrong. You guys go ahead and leave your comments down below about what you would do to the system mechanics, the drive system mechanics of Street Fighter 6 in a theoretical Season 2 patch. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, share this video with a friend who loves Street Fighter, and maybe wants to throw their hat in the ring and put a comment down below as well about what they would do to the system mechanics. This has been Beanie Thuggish, talking about my hopes for the system mechanic changes for a Season 2 of Street Fighter 6, signing out and saying peace.